Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Jake here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the supposed Batman game that is in the works over at Rocksteady Studios, who brought us, of course, the Batman Arkham trilogy, save for Origins, and the heavily criticized Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And there have been some rumors circulating about Rocksteady as of late, and some new talks have come out from Lunatic Ignis, who has gotten things right in as far as rumors in the gaming industry in the past. And according to these guys, a Batman Beyond game is in the works at Rocksteady. Now, take everything that I say in this video with a grain of salt. This is just going to be, speculation, tinfoil hat talk here. We're just going to assume that this game is in fact happening, but again, take it with a grain of salt because no concrete information has been released as of yet. Now, according to what this statement from Ignis says, Batman Beyond will serve as the foundation for an upcoming video game, which is rumored to be the start of a trilogy, and there are storylines from the series that could be expanded upon. Of course, Batman Beyond was an animated show that was the successor to Batman Animated Series / The New Batman Adventures that started in 1999 and ran for a couple seasons into the early 2000s and tied into other shows in that same universe, such as Justice League Unlimited and even the Static Shock series. And there's a lot of cause for talk if this Batman Beyond game is supposedly real. Would it take place in the Arkhamverse? Because that brand has been very marketable for so long now, over 14 years. Yeah, because Arkham Asylum came out in 2009, so this year will be actually 16 years this August. Holy crap, that's crazy. But will this fall under the Arkham name, or will it be the start of something new? That, of course, that popular title that everybody wanted to theorize, Batman Beyond Arkham, Batman Arkham Beyond, what have you. Would it be an installment there, or would it be the start of its own new thing? Now, it could really go either way, but I'm going to go under the assumption that it isn't for now. I'm just gonna talk, about what it could look like if it's the start of its own new thing, and not adding more story to the Arkham timeline, which has already been convoluted enough over the past number of years by plot hole after plot hole after plot hole. So, sorry if you heard the chair there. What could this Batman Beyond game look like? Well, I'm gonna go in a little bit of category order here to talk about different things that I think could be incorporated into this game, and the first one is tone and atmosphere. Now, each of the Arkham games, they have distinct atmospheres to them, but across all of the games, all of the mainline ones, they share this, kind of a unified tone that is there throughout all of the games, even though they take place, around different times of year, different settings, and at different points in Batman's career. You have in Arkham Origins, you have an early years Batman who is, taking down all these assassins who are going after him on Christmas Eve. And then, go all the way forward to Arkham Knight, you have a veteran Batman that's got well over a decade in his career that has, gotten several Robins and manages to take out a whole myriad of threats coming against him in one single night. Now, with Batman Beyond, something that would have to be different from every game is the look of Gotham, because it wouldn't have, that older bit of architecture. It would look, more futuristic, like what you saw in the Batman Beyond series. Like there would be maybe some flying vehicles, kind of a neon-esque look of just Gotham City as a whole. It would be brighter in some areas, very technologically advanced. And now we did see a good amount of what was probably considered breaking edge for that universe. We saw a good amount of that technology in Arkham Knight being used by mainly the Arkham Knight himself, Jason Todd, as well as people like Batman and Lucius Fox. We saw what they would consider probably breaking edge technology at that point. And now we're going to have to wonder, how could that be expanded upon, whether they jump, what is it? I can't remember exactly how many years it is in Batman Beyond. I think it's like 20 years between whenever Bruce Wayne has the heart attack and hangs up the cowl, and then once Terry McGinnis gets introduced and then becomes the next Batman. I think it's a 20-year gap between that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But you could definitely... there could be like a flashback to, an older style of Gotham, and then 20 years go by, and then you see that Gotham is, on top of the technological world. So, just what that would look like for an atmosphere, and then also how it would affect things like traversal. I'd be very curious to see what that would be like. And, when it comes to traversal itself, there would probably be less incorporation of the famous grappling hook and probably more of the rocket boots, which the Batman Beyond suit has. And the next topic I want to go into is related to boss fights and villains. So, what villains could we see in this Batman Beyond game? They could definitely pull a lot of villains from the animated cartoons, such as people like Spellbinder, who could be kind of modeled after Scarecrow and Mad Hatter in the way that his boss encounter would work. Because for those of you who don't know, Spellbinder is very much a criminal that utilizes hypnosis to his advantage. So you could create a similar sort of illusion like you would with Scarecrow or the Mad Hatter, although probably not to the same degree as someone like Scarecrow, because of course Scarecrow is all about inducing fear into Batman, whereas Spellbinder is just, someone who uses the illusion to trick Batman. Then you could pull another character like Ink, who could probably function somewhat similar to Clayface in terms of a boss battle. I doubt it would go for that same sort of twist where it's, Ink pretending to be a popular character. I doubt they would do that because they've done that before, and it worked before, but it would get really derivative if it were to be done again. You could have other people like Curare, who could be kind of a blend of the Ra's al Ghul boss from Arkham City, as well as the Copperhead and Deathstroke bosses from Arkham Origins. You could kind of mix all three of those together for a really cool boss there. And you could even take a group like the Royal Flush Gang and make that make that boss have a very heavy emphasis on Predator mechanics. Kind of mix the best elements of all of the Predator bosses from the previous games, whether you take Mr. Freeze from Arkham City and Origins, or even Jason Todd from Arkham Knight, the boss against him. And you would essentially be, sectioning off each member of the Royal Flush Gang into their own little area and picking them off one by one. And if you really wanted to go crazy, they could each have, their own separate health bars, so you're having to keep track of who you're fighting, as it's going through, and how little health they have or how much health they have, things like that. That would really be a cool Predator encounter. It would make it to where they don't just, go down in one hit, so it ends up being really easy. You can make it to where they either all are equally difficult to take down, or you would have people like, King and Ace be harder to take down than some people like, Queen or 10. And on that example, by the way, if they wanted to introduce 10, who I believe in the show is called Melanie, I can't remember her last name, but that's definitely another character that they could play with if they wanted to create maybe the sort of Batman-Catwoman dynamic there, because it was definitely very much intended to be that way when they introduced that character in the series. And as far as, things like gadgets and vehicles, they could definitely include, I can't remember what the name for it was, but the flying Batmobile, essentially. I guess Terry's version of the Batwing. I can't remember if they had an actual name for it or if it was just simply called the Batwing, but they could definitely incorporate that. They could incorporate Terry's stealth mode where he's able to go invisible, which is, kind of a trademark of Terry's because he relies a lot more on his gadgets than Bruce Wayne does, because of course he didn't receive all of Bruce Wayne's training. you would see, a bunch of Terry's gadgets. And I even saw some people, years back talk about the mechanic that was seen in Arkham Origins and in Arkham Knight, though to a less degree in Arkham Knight, where Batman solves crime scenes and you actually see, kind of a physical recreation of what happened in those crime scenes. I think it would be really cool if you were kind of able to use that same concept with Terry, but make it to where Terry is actually seeing these physical recreations, because whenever it was done with Bruce in the previous games, that was just kind of a physical recreation for the player to see, and that's really the most that it served. But Bruce was putting all those pieces together in his head, and it would be really cool for Terry if they were to kind of go the full mile with that, because Terry would rely a lot more on that technology, because he's not, quite as smart as Bruce, at least, not early on. But they could definitely pull from a lot of different layers of the Batman Beyond mythos into this game. Now, one thing that is a little bit unfortunate, again, if this rumor is to be believed, is that this game is supposedly a PlayStation exclusive. Now, Rocksteady has never really done that before with their superhero games. They released all of their Arkham games on multi-platform. Suicide Squad was released on multi-platform. The only exceptions whenever they've done things that are console exclusive have been the Batman VR game that they did. That would be the only exception. And then a lot of people I already know would not like this, because it would be like them going down the Sony route with the Spider-Man games. And while we're talking on, platforms and things like that, it's been said that this Batman Beyond game is, years down the line, and would likely mean that it releases sometime in the PlayStation 6's lifespan, or could potentially even be a launch title for that next console. But if it is to be believed that this game is happening, I'd say we're a good, 4 or 5 years away from it. So there's really no telling, again, if this is even real, what it could look like. And there is also that question of, who would be the old Bruce Wayne voice since the unfortunate passing of Kevin Conroy a few years back. I know there's, a lot of different Batman actors you could pull from, whether they went for somebody new, which I wouldn't necessarily mind. I would be interested in seeing a new take on that, because Kevin Conroy is really all we've heard voice that version, since he did it in the cartoon as well. But if they wanted to bring in another Batman alumni, I would personally love to see Bruce Greenwood back in the role, since I feel like that role would fit him very well. And, if he still manages to sound young enough for the role, then maybe they could bring Will Friedle back to play Terry, if he's still able to pull it off and sound like someone that's, in his late teens, early 20s, which is typically what Terry's age is. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there in a nutshell, and now I want to hear from all of you guys. Do you think we're going to be getting a Batman Beyond game in the future? Do you think it's going to be tied to the Arkhamverse? Do you think it's going to be its own separate thing, the start of a new franchise? What do you think the combat could look like, the Predator mechanics, the open world, the tone, the atmosphere, the villains? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, glide down to the comments and leave your thoughts, hit that share button and spread this video to your friends, and smash that subscribe button if you want to see more. Peace out, guys.